My boyfriend said he wanted an open relationship, so I opened it to his family tree. On our 5-year anniversary, I was sitting across from Lurin when he pulled out a velvet box and slid it across the table. Look, I'm down to get married, but I need freedom to explore. There's so many beautiful women out there, he continued, and I need to experience them before I die. I stared at the Rolex on his wrist, his Gucci belt, all paid for by me while he got his together. Here's what Lurin didn't know. I'd spent our entire relationship lying to him. See, Lurin was like medium ugly at best, and he has a micro pages. Yes, you heard me right. 0.5 inches. But my love language is words of affirmation. So I spent 5 years telling him size doesn't matter. I made him feel like he was incredible when he really wasn't. And now he actually believed it. You know what? You're absolutely right, I said. His head snapped up. See, this is why I love you. You get it. He reached across and squeezed my hand, already looking at a woman walking past our table. This is going to be amazing for us. I smiled back. He had no idea what was coming. Within a week, Lurin was a different person. New cologne that he bought in 5 installments with Clara. He'd sit on the couch next to me, swiping through dating apps, showing me photos of women. This one wants to meet up Thursday, he'd say. You should try too. Oh, wait. You're probably too shy for this lifestyle. I just nodded because I had my eyes on a prize too. And after 2 weeks of Lurin posting other girls on his Instagram story, his mom finally texted me about the family barbecue. You'll still come, won't you? His brother Jack and I both want you there. I wouldn't miss it, I said. And I meant it. At the barbecue, Jack was at the grill in a shirt that he probably paid for by himself. He smiled when he saw me. That genuine smile that made you feel like you mattered. Hey, he said. I heard about the open relationship thing. You doing okay? I stepped closer. Actually, I'm doing great. Lurin wanted freedom. I'm just taking the same deal. His expression shifted. Oh yeah. We talked for an hour, laughed, his hand brushed mine. Across the yard, Lurin was watching us, his conversation dying mid-sentence. His mom came over and hugged me. I always thought you were too good for Lurin anyway, she whispered. But here's the thing. While Lurin was posting all these club photos and collecting phone numbers, his actual dates weren't going well. He'd come home early every time. Thursday night, home by 9 o'clock. Friday night, same thing. He was getting quieter. The confidence was cracking. 2 weeks later, I was getting ready to go out when Lurin walked into our bedroom. Where are you going? His voice was different, uncertain. I have a date. Oh, he sat on the bed. Anyone I know? I looked at him in the mirror. Yeah, Jack. His face went white. Jack. My brother Jack. Yep. That's not funny. I'm not joking. I grabbed my purse. You said anyone. No restrictions. Remember? I didn't mean my brother. You said whoever I want. I want Jack. I headed for the door. You're being really insecure right now. I thought we were exploring. This is different. You can't what? I turned around. He opened his mouth, closed it. He was trapped. That's what I thought. I said. Jack and I went to a nice restaurant where he asked about my life and actually listened. I've wanted to ask you out for 5 years, he admitted, but you were with my brother. I posted a photo of us that night. Lurin viewed it on all 3 of his accounts. The text started at midnight. We need to talk. You're doing this to hurt me. After that, I started spending the nights at my best friend's house and didn't see him again until the next family dinner 3 weeks later. When Jack and I walked in holding hands, his mom practically ran over. Oh, I'm so glad you two finally got together. She hugged us. Jack has been talking about her for years. But she was with Lurin, and he'd never do that to his brother. Lurin sat through dinner silent while everyone gushed about Jack and me. His aunt kept saying things like, finally, someone with a real career, and Jack always treated his girlfriends well, not like before trailing off and glancing at Lurin. After dinner, Lurin followed me to the kitchen. Can we talk? His voice was small. Please, I'm kind of busy. Please. His eyes were red. I made a mistake. The open relationship isn't working. That's rough, I said. But my brother, really? You said whoever I want. I'll close the relationship, he said coldly. We'll go back to normal. Just us. Like it was. That's not an ask. That's a warning. I stared, not knowing what he meant. The way he looked at me made my skin crawl. My phone buzzed in my pocket and Chelsea's name lit up the screen asking if I was okay since I'd been in the kitchen so long. I typed back that I needed to come over right now and grabbed my jacket from the coat rack. Lurin blocked the doorway, but I pushed past him and told Jack I had to go handle something urgent. His mom hugged me goodbye while Lurin stood there watching with his arms crossed. The drive to Chelsea's apartment took 20 minutes, and she was already waiting at the door with wine and her laptop open. I told her everything about the kitchen and his weird threat about closing the relationship. She started typing notes immediately and said we needed to document everything because that sounded like coercion. She pulled up a new document and had me repeat his exact words while she typed them with timestamps. We saved screenshots of all our text conversations from the past 3 weeks, including his messages about wanting an open relationship. Chelsea said this was important evidence if things got worse, and I should keep records of everything from now on. The next morning, I woke up early and drove back to our apartment while Lurin was at the gym. I went through every drawer and folder collecting receipts for things I'd bought him over the years. The Rolex receipt was still in my jewelry box where I tucked it after surprising him for his birthday. His Gucci belt receipt was buried in my email, along with dozens of clothing orders from Nordstrom and Saks. Rent records showed I had covered 70% every single month for the past 3 years. A shoebox overflowed with grocery receipts because I'd been paying for all the food while he was between jobs for 2 years. My credit card statements carried restaurant bills, vacations, and even his car insurance. I spread everything across Chelsea's dining table and used her calculator to total it up. The number $32 for 100 made me feel sick. I took photos of every single receipt and uploaded them to a cloud folder Chelsea helped me set up. Then I texted Jack, saying we needed to talk about boundaries with his family. He replied immediately, suggesting coffee near his office that afternoon. When I arrived, he was already there with my usual order waiting. He listened as I explained Lurin's behavior and told me he understood if I needed space from his family drama. Jack promised to support me and not pressure me about family events. He also mentioned Lurin had been blowing up his phone with complaints about me, but he wasn't engaging. We agreed to keep our relationship separate from whatever was going on with his brother. Later that day, Lurin posted a moody black and white photo with a caption about fake people showing their true colors. I screenshotted it from my evidence folder without responding. Chelsea came home from work and urged me to see a lawyer about the lease and the money I'd spent. She had a friend at a legal aid clinic, so I booked an appointment for Thursday morning. 2 days crawled by with my phone buzzing nonstop from Lurin. First came long paragraphs about how much he loved me and regretted mistakes. Then came angry rants about Jack being a terrible brother. I only responded to practical things like the electric bill, keeping my replies short and screenshotting everything. On Wednesday morning, Dean from HR called me in. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint accusing me of creating a hostile work environment. I explained my ex was harassing me and trying to sabotage my job. Dean took notes, assured me they'd investigate, and asked if I felt safe. I told him yes, but wanted it on record that the harassment began after I ended things with Lurin. Thursday's legal clinic appointment went better than expected. The advisor reviewed my receipts and documentation, explained my options, and helped draft a formal separation agreement. It said Lurin could keep the gifts like the watch and clothes, but had to repay $20,000 for rent, groceries, and bills. He had 6 months to make monthly installments. The advisor said it was generous since I could prove more, but it showed I was being fair. That afternoon, I sent the agreement to his email with a read receipt. He opened it within 3 minutes, but didn't reply for hours. Around 7 p.m., while Chelsea and I were watching TV, the apartment buzzer went off again and again. Someone was pressing every button in the building. Chelsea checked the security feed. It was Lurin. My stomach dropped. Someone upstairs must have buzzed him in, because soon we heard footsteps pounding up the stairs. then fists hammering our door. "I know you're in there," he screamed, shaking the frame. I hit record on my phone while Chelsea called security. He kept yelling about needing to talk, about me ruining everything, about Jack betraying him. His voice echoed down the hallway. Within minutes, 2 guards arrived and ordered him to leave. He shouted at them too, ranting about me stealing his brother and destroying his life until they dragged him toward the elevator. Chelsea opened the door after they'd gotten him out. The guards took our statements, gave us written documentation, and banned him from the property. They said if he came back, the police would be called immediately. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with texts from Jack. "Are you okay?" Lurin had called Jack right after being kicked out, screaming about betrayal and threatening to tell their parents the truth about me. I texted Jack that I was fine and had nothing to hide, unlike his brother, who had been living off my money for years. Jack said Lurin sounded completely unhinged and he was worried about what he might do next. I told him about the security incident and sent him the video. The next morning, I woke up to an Instagram message from someone named Melanie Yates. She'd attached screenshots of her texts with Lurin from when they went out. In them, he claimed he was basically single and stuck in a dead relationship. She said when they met, he couldn't perform and then spent 20 minutes blaming it on stress from his toxic relationship with me. I thanked her for reaching out and explained we'd been in an open relationship, something he had demanded. She was disgusted and said he had lied from the start. She even offered to provide a statement if I needed it for legal purposes. I saved all her screenshots to my evidence folder. That afternoon, Lurin finally replied to the separation agreement. It was a long, chaotic email accusing me of manipulating him, turning his family against him, and emotionally abusing him. He claimed I'd orchestrated everything just to steal his brother. He refused to sign and demanded I move out immediately so he could have his space. I forwarded the email to the legal clinic. My advisor helped me draft a response pointing out that I was the primary tenant on the lease and had been covering most of the rent and utilities for years. We gave him 30 days to either move out or accept the repayment plan. She said his email actually strengthened my case by showing how unreasonable he was. That night, his mom called me in tears. Lurin had told her I'd been emotionally abusing him for years, and she didn't know what to believe. I stayed calm and explained I had full documentation, bank statements, receipts, rent records, showing exactly how much I'd supported him. She went quiet for a long time before saying she needed time to process. I could tell she was starting to doubt his story, even if she didn't want to admit her son was lying. 2 days later, I went to the counseling appointment I'd scheduled weeks before. The therapist asked why I'd stayed with someone who never appreciated me or contributed. We talked about my childhood and how I was conditioned to believe I had to earn love by taking care of people. She pointed out how Lurin had exploited that. It was painful to hear, but true. For the first time, I could see the pattern clearly. Later that week, I started getting calls from Clara and other companies. Lurin's payments were bouncing, and I was listed as his emergency contact. Every creditor was calling me because his accounts were empty. I gave them his updated number and worked through the process of removing myself from all his accounts. It took hours, but I needed to protect my credit. Each company confirmed they deleted my information and would only contact him going forward. That same night, Jack texted asking if I wanted to grab dinner at a small Italian place downtown. We sat in a quiet corner booth. At first, we talked about normal things, his job, my promotion prospects, but then he got serious. "We should probably talk about what this is," he said. I nodded. He admitted he'd watched Lurin treat me poorly for years, but didn't know how to step in. Seeing me pay for everything while Lurin did nothing had always frustrated him, but he hadn't wanted to interfere. We agreed to take things slowly and not put labels on anything yet. The next morning, I woke up to 3 Instagram messages from women I didn't know. All had matched with Lurin on dating apps and wanted to share their experiences. One said he showed up 40 minutes late to their coffee date and spent the entire time talking about his jealous ex. Another said he tried to make her pay for dinner when his card got declined. The third sent screenshots of him asking to borrow money after just one date. All three said he wouldn't stop ranting about his crazy, controlling ex. I thanked them and saved everything. That weekend, I decided to start moving my valuables out of the apartment while Lurin was at his new weekend job his uncle had gotten him. Chelsea came over with boxes, and we packed up everything I could prove I'd bought: my laptop, jewelry, the coffee maker, kitchen items, even the good sheets and towels. She kept watch at the window in case he came home early. We made 4 trips in 3 hours, loading everything into her car and moving it to a storage unit I'd rented. On Monday morning, I called our landlord, Colin White, to talk about the lease. We met at a coffee shop near his office. I brought copies of all my rent payments, showing I'd been covering the majority for years. Colin flipped through the records and just shook his head. Colin told me Lurin was already 2 months behind on rent, which I'd unknowingly covered. He agreed to remove Lurin from the lease at renewal if the missed payments continued, and noted complaints about Lurin's loud parties. I got it all in writing. 2 days later, my bank app alerted me to an attempted access on our joint savings. I'd already moved my share, leaving only about $200 of Lurin's money. He blew up my phone, accusing me of theft and threatening police. I screenshotted everything and ignored him. The next morning, his aunt posted about gold-digging women on Facebook. Within an hour, Jack defended me, his mom backed him, and the whole family was arguing in the comments. I stayed out of it. At therapy that afternoon, we discussed honesty, how I'd lied to myself about Lurin's laziness being temporary. Facing that truth was hard, but necessary. That night, a woman named Alexa messaged me. She said she'd gone on a date with Lurin where he showed up late, walletless, and spent the whole night talking about me. I thanked her and saved her messages. By Thursday, I was done playing nice. I sent Lurin a final email: move out in 45 days, repay $5,000 in installments, and stop contacting me. I CC'd Colin and my legal advisor, warning of eviction and small claims court if he refused. Monday, Dean from HR called. Lurin was in the lobby demanding to see me. Security removed him after he started yelling, and HR issued a no-contact order with his photo at every desk. 2 days later, Jack's mom called, her tone softer. She admitted she now saw Lurin's pattern of blaming others, and even cried, saying she felt guilty for not protecting me sooner. That week, mutual friends reached out saying Lurin was spreading lies about me and Jack. But his stories didn't add up. Screenshots showed he contradicted himself, and one friend confirmed Jack had been out of town during the supposed affair. I saved all the proof in my evidence folder. Finally, mediator Jasper Conrad called to schedule a meeting about the lease and finances. We set it for Monday at a downtown coffee shop. I arrived early, organized my documents, and waited as Jasper explained we'd give Lurin 10 minutes to show. 20 minutes late, Lurin finally arrived at the mediation wearing the Gucci belt and jacket I'd bought him. No apology, just complaints about having to be there. Jasper calmly explained the meeting was about the lease and shared finances. Lurin admitted he couldn't afford the $2,800 rent alone and had been trying to find a roommate. Jasper suggested giving him 60 days to either take over the lease or move out. I showed documentation of his harassment at my workplace and Chelsea's building. Jasper noted everything and added a no-contact clause. Going through the finances, we calculated Lurin owed me about $12,000, but Jasper recommended settling for $5,000 in installments. I agreed, and Lurin signed 45 days to vacate and $500 a month for 10 months. Afterward, I updated Jack, and we agreed to wait until Lurin was fully gone before going public about dating. Meanwhile, Lurin started selling his designer items online with dramatic captions about starting over. I ignored it and focused on my life. Chelsea helped me repaint, rearrange furniture, and reclaim the apartment. By the end of the weekend, the place finally felt like mine. 2 weeks later, I got the first $500 deposit from Lurin, which I forwarded to my legal advisor. 3 days after that, I came home to find his key and a bitter note on the counter. I tossed it in the trash, had the locks changed, and boxed up the last of his things. I texted him they'd be on the curb and blocked his number. That weekend, his mom called inviting me to Sunday dinner, saying she still considered me family. I thanked her but said I needed time for myself first. Lurin moved back in with his parents, telling people he was finding himself after our so-called toxic relationship. Mutual friends just rolled their eyes. Meanwhile, Jack and I went to that Italian place we'd talked about, and for the first time in weeks I felt normal. He made me laugh, listened, and paid without making it weird. Counseling helped me realize I'd confused being used with being loved and that my worth wasn't tied to what I could provide. Lurin's payments kept coming, sometimes with apologies I ignored. Chelsea threw me a freedom party, where friends admitted they'd seen the problems all along. Jack and I became official quietly, no drama, just coffee runs, dinners, and real conversations. When Lurin finished paying, his lawyer asked if I'd meet for closure. I declined. My closure was the life I'd built without him. 6 months later, I ran into him at the grocery store. He was in faded clothes comparing cheap brands. He tried to talk, but I walked away without feeling a thing. Jack was waiting in the next aisle, making me laugh about olive oil brands. Driving home, I thought about the difference. A year ago, I was carrying Lurin's dead weight. Now, I had someone who valued me and shared life equally. Life kept improving after Lurin. Chelsea helped me paint the kitchen a warm yellow. My plants thrived, and work felt lighter. Dean mentioned a promotion, and when I got it, my new salary nearly doubled. For the first time, I had savings in an account under only my name. Jack and I took a mountain trip where he admitted he'd seen how badly Lurin treated me but hadn't known how to speak up. Hiking to a waterfall and sharing quiet nights at the cabin felt worlds away from my past. His steady kindness reminded me what love was supposed to feel like. By spring,